All right, guys, welcome back to the channel for another video. Today, I'm super excited to have the man David James on today, who has been in the home service business industry for over 12 years now, has grown his business to over multiple six figures and has helped others do the same. And so I'm happy to have him on today. So David, welcome.
Yeah, Isaiah, thanks for having me, man. I'm pumped for this.
Awesome. So what I like to start by doing is kind of just getting a little bit of your backstory. How did you get in the industry? What led you here? And what does that journey kind of look like?
Yeah, man. So I actually come out of the painting industry. I was going to business school back in the day, over 12 years now. And I met a campus recruiter there who at the time, gave me a CD-ROM and he said, watch this. And I ended up running my own student painting business for 4 seasons. And basically you'd go crazy in the summer, paint a bunch of homes, and then go back to business school and then do it again. So I did that for a number of years, which eventually led me into another painting business, which was a franchise. And then my power washing business, Revive Washing, was born after that. So kind of two painting businesses to get my training wheels, and now Revive is kind of it's game time now. So yeah.
Awesome. So when you're doing this painting business, were you did you have like a lot of experience painting, or was it around you building a team? Or
Yeah, man, like next to nothing. I mean, I worked for a small company for like 2 months prior to that, just as a summer job in high school, and kind of learned a little bit of the ins and outs. But kind of the beautiful thing with home services, man, as you know, is it's not like the physical skill we're doing. It's actually like the service and the back end business, which really makes it special. So, I was taught to paint from this student painting organization, and in a couple of months I was up to speed with the knowledge. And this isn't like high end painting, like it's like exterior fences, decks, trim, prep and paint type of thing.
gotcha. Okay, so what kind of interests me in you is not only what the revenue you're able to get your business up to, but one of the big things was building. You built systems in your business, which is what a lot of people struggle with. And so most people on this channel, they're people who are looking to get started in business. Maybe not necessarily always pressure washing. A lot of people are specifically want to get into soft washing, pressure washing, or exterior cleaning. So I would like to talk in like to kind of move on to the part of you starting up Revive pressure washing. What did that look like? What were some of the difficulties when you first started that business?
Yeah, man, there's a lot of them. Starting a business, I think, is a little bit easier than actually running a business and growing it. There's challenges at every point. And I'm the first to say, every time I do one of these or have a discovery call with a student of mine, I always say, I'm not the know-it-all guru. I think you have a growth mindset, which is like, teach me more. I want to learn. I want to grow. Or a fixed mindset is like, oh, who is this hotshot? He thinks he knows everything. So it's just like, we're all as entrepreneurs fighting the same fight every day, every week. But I think if you can put simple systems in, it's going to be a lot easier. So for me, getting going, man, I'm all about just taking action. I went on Craigslist. I bought a van. I've made a couple posts about this. I bought a van for about $3,000 on Craigslist, got a power washer at Home Depot, started knocking on doors, flyers, signs, and I learned a lot of these kind of basic marketing initiatives through my student painting days that I was able to kind of massage and grow over time. And then started it again with Revive. But it was a humble start, man. No angel investment, no business partner, no one backing me. Just like, okay, you got $3,000. What are you gonna do? So it was a humble start for sure.
And so from that $3,000 investment, you've been able to turn over to multiple six figures in your business. That's very impressive. And so what's really interesting there is, starting off with a small investment. What I see is, and it's all going to be kind of subjective and based on people's opinions, but in any industry I guess you have kind of two sides. One, you have people who will enter an industry and like they'll go all in, they'll put the huge investment in. So, say for example, with pressure washing, whatever. So guys will go after, they'll get started in the industry, buy the nicest of rigs, the top of the line equipment, and be in, 50K or 100K, whatever. Then there's guys like yourself, how you started with a $3,000 investment and you have been able to grow it over. I don't want to say there's one right way or wrong way, but kind of like, other than maybe not having the money to even put that much in, what do you see maybe the advantages of starting with a lesser investment and really just focusing more on the business side and delivering your service?
Yeah, man, great question. I mean, honestly, like, I think when you don't start with a bunch of money, like me, I was not raised in like means at all. Like I had to go out and scratch for everything. I think you really learn like the value of a dollar when you don't have anything. And so I'm constantly calculating, where's the best ROI? Where do you want to put this money? But for me, again, there's no one way that's exactly right, but clearly what I've done is taken that money and put it into sales and marketing. I learned a lot from Josh Latimer back in the day, and just like, man, whatever you can put into sales and marketing, you're going to 10x that and beyond. But to put money into equipment, I'd rather have this thing ringing like crazy and have to figure out how to go produce those jobs than have like 50K in my driveway of a nice rig and I have no idea to go out and get the jobs. And unfortunately, that latter situation is a lot more prevalent in our industry. So I'm always thinking scale. That's just how my brain works as an entrepreneur. Everything we do in Revive today is, will that work with a 10 truck operation, which is our goal, where we want to get to. And so that's how we make decisions.
Understandable completely. So what I've seen, like I said, what I see a lot of people, I think when they invest this large amount, it becomes like an ego thing too. And they're like, they automatically think because they go out and invest this large amount of money that the market is just going to be like, oh, hey, we want your service.
Mhm.
Just because you're all fancy versus a guy, somebody who starts with a van or, just a used pressure washer for Craigslist, and they go out there and actually still make money. I kind of like, what I tell people is, because for me too, I try to focus on more the business side of things than having the fancy equipment. Because I tell people there's always another level you can climb to. Because the market of people who are building the equipment are always going to make something better, the new shiny object. And so people chase that over actually chasing, uh, getting the sales and marketing, having healthy profit margins and things like that. So I think you make a great point there. Other than that, what do you think some other areas that most business owners like go wrong in? When like we can talk about this industry specifically.
For sure, man. Yeah, there's a lot, and I'm the first to be in line that I've made all these mistakes. Like probably number one, like in my boot camp, we get really focused on. There's a bunch, but I'll just rattle them off. One is like starting with your why, and again, it sounds cliche, but so many students I work with are like, "Oh, I got to get this thing to $5 million." I'm like, "Well, why?" Okay, well, I want to make 250 grand. I'm like, "Man, you can make 250 grand running like a tight $1 million operation." Have management in place and really watch it. So I think, not building your business for society or for the ego play. Like everybody asks, oh, how many trucks, how much revenue? It's just like revenue is an indicator of how your business is doing, but by no means is it the full story. So I think number one is like building the business for what you want. And for me with Revive, it's a cash flow generation for myself and my family. I want to keep long term. I don't want to sell it. I want to keep current in the industry. So that'd be number one. Two is like watching your numbers like a hawk. A lot of guys don't even have like a basic budget. They're just like, oh, I think I need to be charging $60 per hour because that will, make profit. But it's just like, if you don't, like for us, we build our profit goal at the start of the year. So we say this year, we want to make, 200 grand profit. Okay, what are all our costs? What revenue do we need to do to end up with that profit? So like we know if we give out a discount, that's coming like straight off the bottom line. So really watching your numbers. The washing business, man, painting business, it's all similar. The magic number is that gross profit margin is like, your cost, your job price, less your labor and materials. That gross margin is going to really dictate how healthy your business is going to be. Yeah.
Awesome. So I see what all services do you guys offer? I think I went on your website. You guys offer soft washing, gutter cleaning, roof washing,
Yep.
concrete. And then you also have a Christmas light business as well.
We got Christmas lights too. Yeah. So about a year and a half ago, I was kind of pulling my hair out being like, man, like we get really cold here in Canada where I am. Things freeze over. It gets really cold. We can't do our washing. So we've essentially the last year and a half pivoted from hiring, seasonal staff. And that, again, that came out of my student painting roots of like, okay, go get a bunch of projects, hire a bunch of people, bump out the work. But we've really like turned at a Y in the road here where we're going for year-round technicians. We pay them super good so they can afford to live here in our part of Canada. And then with the Christmas lights, it's extended our season by about 12 extra weeks. So our production calendar now runs on 10 months a year, which it was like 8 months a year, a year and a half ago. So we've added Christmas lights and kind of put it all into one brand now.
All right, awesome. So one of the things I've seen like well in my business is that I pretty much have like I would call it like a frontline service, like one that's most of the phone calls I get, and that's for me, like I'm in the mainly the residential market. So we get most of our calls is for house washing. So do you have one service that kind of sticks out, or is it, is it equally distributed across, your different services?
Yeah, no, we're very clear, man, on who we are. We're a house washing company, so we want that house, that $800 house wash package to wash the house. We'll upsell on a roof moss removal or a driveway clean. But that's really what we're after. We're really clear that we supplement that service. Window cleaning, gutter cleaning, those are supplementing that kind of big project. But that's what we're building the business around. And then we transition obviously in the winter into Christmas lights. So yeah, it's our goal that like 70% of our phone calls are for that one service. We got a long way to go, but that is our goal.
Awesome. So when you first started, did you launch with all these services, or did you add them along the way?
Man, we added them as we went. So I just started gutter cleaning, window cleaning. We did a bit of downstreaming on some homes, learned about soft washing a few years back, got trained in that, got our first setup on the road. And then Christmas lights, like I said, was added a year, just finished our second season of Christmas lights. So it's been a bit of a evolved process for sure, which has been good and bad. I mean, it's definitely raised our tickets. We've been able to serve our client base with more services, but I'm very cautious of just adding services because that does add complexity to the business. And some guys just aren't set up for it. Like, oh, we'll just add on Christmas lights. Like, what do I do? Go to Canadian Tire, it's just like, man, you got to do it properly if you're going to do it. I don't see us adding any services for the foreseeable, to be honest. Like I just see so much potential with our market, with our current services that we do have.
Awesome. So yeah, one of the books I read a few years back is called the 80/20 Principle. You ever read that book?
What's it called?
The 80/20 Principle.
Oh yeah, the Pareto principle. Yeah,
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah. So like that's when I kind of see a lot of businesses like, 80% of your revenue is going to come from, like, if you have multiple services, there's always going to be one that kind of sticks out. And so it's hard to, if you have a diverse product line, it's going to be hard to equally market every single product in the same, to all these customers. Like one is going to stick out. And then like I see, like you said, like it's going to be upsells that you add on. So what has the business, like what has growth looked like for you, especially like in the Canadian market? Like how have you been able to go from, being a new company, $3,000 investment, to getting your company over like 6 figures? What are some of the steps that you've taken to do that?
Yeah, man, I call it the 3 Ps. Like we've only been in business 4.5 years. So again, we're not the experts, we're figuring it out, but you need 3 Ps to run a successful power wash or any business really. The first one is projects. So that comes with, marketing. Like I spend 80% of my time in marketing, getting more jobs. How do we refine that process? So that's number one. You need that phone ringing. Two, you need people. I'll talk about that a bit more in a sec. And then lastly is profit. A lot of businesses exist. The owner's crazy busy, stressed out, but they're not actually making profit. So those are really like the 3 levers. And most people are deficient in at least one of those areas, if not all 3. So that's where I put my time in those 3 areas. But the people, man, is where it's at. Like if you can get leaders in your company, that means that equals exponential growth in your company. Like I've got 2 managers now that are running the day to day, and they come up with ideas that I'm just like, man, I wouldn't have come up with that myself. I don't agree with everything they do, but that's kind of the thing where you want to be delegating, is if someone does a job 80% as good as you, what John Maxwell says, time to take off that hat, put it on to somebody else. So I think as you grow, you want to find specialists in each area. And right now we've got a specialist running production and a specialist running our office. And it's helped me out so much. So That's been really key to growth, the 3 Ps, and especially like getting the right people in place. I know it sounds cliche, but
Yeah.
you got to grow your own talent too. Like both my own guys were on the truck, and we just talked about for a year, oh, what could it look like for you to be a manager? You know, you'd have to do this and this. So you got to like work with these people long term.
Awesome. So 3 Ps. That's really good. And I mean, and it's like business. You know, a lot of business is very simple. You know, it's simple, but I think I think life is simple. You know, we make it complex. But so one of the things I'm seeing that is with people specifically. A lot of guys in this industry, I think one of the hardest things they have is letting go because the business is their baby, right?
Mhm.
So a lot of guys have a really hard time of getting like off the truck and like letting someone else kind of run things because they want like there's the saying that people have is, if you want it done right, then, you got to do it yourself. And so I think a lot of people go into not only this industry, but many industries with that mindset. And so they're never ever able to really free themselves from the business because they always have to be hands on. So like, what are some tips on like hiring great people and like, training them so you can remove yourself and not feel like, and go crazy about it. Like you can comfortably, be at home working on whatever else you wanted to while your team is handling, the services and running the business.
Yeah, man, it's not easy. I mean, it's the same guys who are stuck on the truck that will stay on Facebook and YouTube till 3 in the morning researching different pieces of equipment. I think when you get in this business, you have a proclivity either to like sales and marketing and entrepreneurship and growth and leadership, or you have a proclivity to like ball valves and pressure washers and staying on the truck and making sure everything's like so efficient on site. So you got to recognize what camp you're in. For me, I'm in the first camp, but if you're in the second camp, it gets hard because a lot of these guys have been doing this for seasons upon seasons, and you just wire your brain, and it's hard to really, it's like a habit. It's just like, how do you give up eating junk food and go running, 3 times a week? Like you got to break that habit. It's difficult. But for me, when I work with people to do that, it just starts at the ground level. Like you train an assistant, you document first of all everything you're doing on site. If you, it's ego talking first of all, saying that I'm the only one, I have to do it the best. Like you got to give that area up of your business, and to do that you need to have a playbook. So we say document every single thing. Where do you park the truck? What do you say at the door? What do you do next? What side of the house do you start on? When do you take pictures? Like we have this documentation of
So SOPs.
exactly,
Right.
man. So you get like the pain of running a small artisan based business needs to be greater than the mindset of like I'm the best, I have to do everything. Like until that switches, you're going to just be on the truck your whole life. And unfortunately, I don't really see any owner operators that can really scale beyond like 250 grand, maybe more, but that's generally you're kind of, you can't hump over that next level. And again, if that's what you want from your business, like nothing wrong. A bigger business doesn't mean a better business, but the people I work with are people that want to shift from self-employed to business owners. So you got to take a couple of those steps.
Awesome, great stuff. So how long did it take you to get up the truck? Since you've only been in business 4.5 years, there's guys who've
Yeah.
been in the industry for 15 who still, you know.
Yeah, it took me like 2 months, probably 2 or 3 months, like pretty quick. Again, I had a painting business, man. I was scared to offer window cleaning for the longest time. We never did because I'm like, oh, it's so technical. But I learned, I mean, we water fed pole work for our windows. Again, is it not as detailed as hand cleaning? Probably not. But does it scale for 10 trucks? And is it great to offer with house washing? Like, definitely. So we do it. But yeah, I obsess over like processes, but I don't like this book right here, man. Like people need to read this. Who, Not How. I'm reading it for the second time this week because it's like we get caught in the how of our business. We have to do everything. We're like, no, I'm looking for the who's. Like, who can I put on site to offer a great experience and do it better than me? And like, it just sucks because until you feel that like somebody doing it better than you, it's really hard to like convince somebody that it's possible.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I think that's one of the biggest, I think out of the 3 Ps you talked about, I think people is one of the, the biggest ones to even, to really focus on zero in because I think, it then becomes like people also becomes a reflection of us because then it starts to challenge your own leadership and forces you to get better.
Yeah.
All right. So staying on topic of people, how do you build out a company? Like how do you build out company culture?
Yeah, man, it's definitely like a buzzword in business. I found like in business school too, we learned about company culture, this and that. I didn't really believe it probably till the last couple years when I started seeing it happen in Revive. So like I think number one, it starts with having a really solid brand. So like as simple as just like a logo and what does your company stand for. Like for us, every job we do, we donate 3% to build water wells in Cambodia. So like people, applicants that are coming in, they're like, oh man, that's so sweet. Like I want to work for a company that there's like, doing extracurricular things. We also pay people. We're a living wage employer here in my province in Canada, so which means we pay people 15% more than the industry average. So like everybody just gets a pay bump because. So I think you do little things like that. It could also be like a charity you care about in your community, or maybe you guys like go out for pizza every Friday, or like it doesn't really matter the thing. I think you just need to have characteristics that are about, make your company what it is. And then it all starts with like leadership too. So if you like you say you're so generous and pay everybody good, but you actually are like super cheap, it's just like it's not gonna work. So you got to be like an authentic, like you got to first be authentically yourself, and then people will follow suit. So there's so much that goes into it.
Yeah, I asked that because I see a lot of guys who will have employees or try to begin to remove themselves. A lot of the biggest problem they have is being able to keep employees. And I hear a lot of people say they have a high turnover rate. They can't find people. I hear a lot of people in these groups say, I can't find good workers, can't find this. They had a guy wasn't working out. So like, would you say your company culture, like, is one reason why? Well, it's fun. So I'm guessing most of your employees, you keep your staff pretty well. I mean, like your staff stays, or do you have a high turnover rate?
No, man, I don't even know. I mean, we turn over people who go back to school who help us with like seasonal work, but for our year-round guys, like no, they stay on for multiple years. And that's kind of number one thing is like these guys in these groups, oh, there's nobody good. It's like, are you like an awesome, like the employee could say, oh, there's no good places on these groups to work for. Like these guys are just owners that are trying to pay like peanuts because they're not charging enough for their services because they don't know their numbers. It's just like this chicken or egg thing. And there's just like all these problems. And I think the recruiting problem stems from the owner not knowing what they want, not knowing their numbers, and then not being like a great boss in today's 2021 day and age. Sorry, but millennials need to have a purpose for what they're doing. Like just a paycheck is not going to cut it. Like what's A through D, what you're doing different, why people want to join you.
Awesome. So we'll move on from people, but that one was really good. Because I think that's the hardest part. Probably think for anybody is really finding finding people, building out a team and whatnot.
I think one thing too, man, just to leave it on is like with cleaning, like I'm always saying my team works with me. Like they don't work for me. And it's seen in like these groups too, is like, oh, you're the boss. And then it's like, oh, the cleaner makes $10 an hour and we don't take care of them. Like we reverse that pyramid on our company. Like the cleaners are like legit, like we take care of them. We do anything for them. So I think having that mindset of like, the people are in it with you, because like no one wants a full life of just scrubbing out gutters or pressure washing, but it's like it's more the company I work for, like the people I work with, and then like, oh yeah, we do cleaning as well, but that's not like the whole part of the job. So hopefully that helps a bit too.
Yeah, that's awesome. So the next part I think people struggle with the most is is the marketing side. So what have you guys done? What systems have you put in place for your marketing to be able to have continuous work? Because that's the one of the other biggest things people
Mm-hmm.
go out and, like I said, spend all this money on this equipment and then like, oh, I can't find any work.
Yeah, man, the 3 Ps, like that's people, culture, projects, is just like, how do we get the phone ringing like crazy? So again, like I am very conscious of pushing guys into paid ads too soon. What I'm seeing, and I'm not an expert, but what I'm seeing, Facebook, Google, PPC, it's becoming a thing for very big brands who have big advertising budgets. So every year in business, like we've grown to, like you said, multi six figures. It's done on a 5% marketing spend per year of our total revenue. So if you're going to do What, 500K, you shouldn't exceed 25 grand in marketing. And that includes like technician uniforms, recruiting for technicians, like everything we do is in that marketing budget. So I always preach a 10x ROI. So if I'm spending $1 in marketing, I want $10 of booked work on that top line revenue. And some of these PPC guys, it works, but I would just be very careful. So we do more of an organic marketing strategy where we try to take over neighborhoods. We've identified different neighborhoods where our ideal target customers are, and we do everything to, like, I'd rather touch a customer 5-6 times in a small concentrated area than like do one like every door direct mail to like 100,000 houses. I'd rather focus on that one neighborhood of 1,000 homes and hit them 6 times throughout the season, if that makes sense.
No, wow. I think you bring out a really good point when it comes to marketing. In any given like tool you're using, whether it's online, but specifically like one I'll talk about is Facebook. A lot of guys I hear all the time, Facebook doesn't work. I know for a fact it works because I mainly like I get a lot of my business from Facebook, so I know Facebook works for me. But guys will go out, spend $10, not see a return, and then say Facebook doesn't work, not understanding the principle that like people, it's just a simple like marketing psychology thing. Like people need to be touched, 6-7 times before they become a buyer. And so if you're only being seen once, you're casting a really wide net. You may have some people raise their hands or you may not. But I think I like your, the perspective you gave of concentrating on one area and letting them see you consistently. Because then you almost like you're sort of building in a relationship with them without them actually, ever having used you yet. But they're like, okay, this company keeps popping up. And then, people get busy. So people may want to use your company. Like I see, like, for example, we'll put out postcards and 3 months later, we might get a phone call. Somebody put your postcard in their glove compartment and then they're cleaning up the car and like, oh, wow, this company, they use you.
Yeah, man, we always say flyers have legs. Like they just tend to make it into weird areas where you're like, oh yeah, cool. Like that was us. But like, deploying getting your truck wrapped, door knocking. Like I have a buddy here in this part of Canada. He just started and he's does like 90% of his business just on door knocking, like through COVID. And everybody's like, how are you managing this? Like, it's just like, pick a couple things and really like champion them. Like, you can't just put out 1,000 flyers and say like, they don't work. Like you can't just go make that statement because there's massive companies, man. Pest control companies do $100 million and they just door knock. It's just like, just pick a couple things and get really good at them, and watch that ROI, like get that 10x ROI, because you don't need to sink the boat with these marketing initiatives. It's not difficult. You just got to stay consistent with it. But it's the mistake that guys make is you run a pressure washing business, you focus on getting really good at pressure washing, but you should be getting really good at marketing and client acquisition and being a sweet boss and attracting, recruiting people and knowing your numbers, and then like know how to pressure wash. So it's a mindset like adjustment.
Yeah, no, 100%. I do. I completely agree with that. Cause like, I'm sure you've been, you've had your business, your company specifically in pressure washing for 4.5 years. And I would say too, I know with me, like being young, I'm 23, I'm on YouTube, I talk about pressure washing. And like, so I get some older guys in the industry who like give me hate. I'm just like, I'm trying, I get a lot of hate from some guys who've been in this for like forever. You don't know what you're talking about. You have no right to be talking, I'm like, all right, cool. But
yeah, I think it's like every day, man, you should expect like a hater via whatever, man. It's just like, that's one thing, not to paint like Americans with a broad brush, but it's just like, even as I advertise my coaching services, it's just like, in Canada, man, some of these comments would like never fly. But I do respect the American side. It's just like, you say what you think, like just like bam. And so I think you get a thick skin pretty quick. But I think as long as, like, again, coming back to that growth mindset, just like, man, I'm not the know-it-all. We're sharing what's worked for us. Take it or leave it. But again, there's usually more than one right way to do a thing with pressure washing or with marketing. So I think sharing from experience and not just staying closed-minded is the key.
Yeah, that's 100% me. Like, I consider myself like a student of life. I'm constantly trying to learn. So, the same thing you say, like I'm not a guru. I'm just like my biggest thing, I try to stay as authentic to myself. Like, I only talk about things that I have experienced. It's like even on my channel, like there's the commercial space. I'm not in the commercial space. I talk about residential. I know,
Yeah.
what money is made in residential. I know certain processes, and I'm constantly learning. So if I learn something new, I try to come back and give it to my my following, whatever, my friends, subscribers, all of them, to give them some game, because I know I can at least give them a couple steps. I'm a couple steps ahead of them. I'm not at the top, but like I can, if I can help you, obtain a certain result faster, then why not do it? Because I know what it was like when I first started. Was I had no education at all.
Yeah, it's becoming a thing, man, is this peer-to-peer like education space, which is fascinating. To be like a teacher, it's all being flipped on its head. You don't need to be 10 steps ahead and up in the clouds. It's like, oh, I want to get to like 3 trucks. You have 3 trucks, I have one. Like, boom, teach me. Like, let's go. So I think the internet has kind of like dumbed down all of that, and people are still like adjusting to like sorting. And like also there's like still snake oil salesman in any industry that's like, oh, buy this thing and growing a business isn't hard and you'll make all this money. So it's like, take everything with a grain of salt. But I think if you can really see the person's heart, like you said, how authentic they are, why are they doing this, then it tells a story as well.
Yeah, just building out the relationship. People think that they can trust you, and it's not all about sales and stuff. And when you provide, what I've seen in the marketplace, when you provide value, people want to connect with you even more.
Mhm.
So just consistently showing and being yourself. But to not hold you too long, let's just go with some kind of rapid fire. If you want to dish off some stuff that, so for
Sure.
someone getting started right now, what are some some tips for them to grow their business? Whether if you want to keep them industry specific or just any industry, you talk about the 3 Ps. Maybe you want to give them something like very specific, actionable things or whatever that they can go do right now. Even make me a book recommendation, something like that, that'll help them grow in 2021.
For sure, man. I love it. So yeah, I mean, people are always like, oh, what's the one thing, the one silver bullet. I don't think there is one, but if someone had me at like gunpoint and was like, man, what is like the one thing, I would honestly say it's go get around people who've already done what you want to achieve. So
Love that.
that would kind of be it. Like, for example, I learn a lot from this company in our area, runs a 15 truck residential division for plumbing and HVAC. So like similar thing, we're pressure washing, they're doing stuff beyond me with heating and air conditioning, but it's like very similar. You dispatch a tech, you do a good job, you get paid, you market, go to the next job. So that would be like one of the biggest things I'd say is go seek, mentor is a buzzword again, but whether that's paid or unpaid, you got to learn from people who've went before you. Because if I look at my journey, I always thought like 2 trucks was like, the mecca, the place to get to. And then you see someone like Brandon Vaughn as 25 crews, you're like, my goodness, this thing is possible. So just getting beyond someone already further ahead, like we talked about, is would be like my one piece of advice. 2 would be just learning, like we said, books, man. If you haven't read the E-Myth, do yourself a favor. Michael Gerber's E-Myth is just
Yeah.
like, I read it every year. And that just, yeah, so many books. Even on my Facebook group, posted yesterday, like best book recommendations for an entrepreneur. And like people are just sounding off with their best. It's just like, I love those kinds of threads. Like, oh man, I got to get that book. So get an Audible account if you don't have it already.
I love
Um,
Audible.
just
I, I'm
it forces you to read. It's just so
yeah.
good.
Yeah, I think I love Audible because like I think Audible is a bit of like a hack to read. Getting through more like education and books. So like to like my right of me right now, I have a big old stack of books, and I developed a habit of just like buying a bunch of books. And then I realized like I don't have time to read every single one of these books. So
Mhm.
then many years back I listened to a guy named Zig Ziglar who's obviously now passed away, but he talked about automobile university, and so with that I started getting the idea of, of instead of listening to music all the time, I would listen to, a podcast or a book. And so I do that now. I'm out working, whatever. I think it's a great time to put your headphones on, and to consume a book. And so
Yeah.
like before you know it, you'll be able to go through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 books.
The amazing thing too, man, is like I set off on my journey. I was 23, 24, picked up my first business book and went crazy reading like physical books. But now I'm 31, 8 years older, and I'm going through that whole library again in my place, like reading book by book. It's like you could have thought I never even read this, like based on how many gold nuggets there are. So it's like the E-Myth, I read it in January every single year, like I think 10 years now, just going. So yeah, get around those books because there's so much learning. And it's just like for 15 or $20, it is like it's almost comical how cheap books are based on how much like wisdom there is in there. It's just like blows my mind.
Absolutely, because information and knowledge, and when you apply it, is really how you buy time. In the sense that you're 31 right now. It could have took you 15 years to scale your business to multiple six figures, but through you diving into education and seeking mentors, they bought you time. They saved you, because when you open up a book, it's literally like it's comprised of their process and their knowledge of what it took them to get. So it might have took them 50 years or whatever to accomplish whatever the success is. Maybe the book is on how to make $1 million. But when they hand you that book and you open it, you don't have to take 50 years. Like, you're buying time, because,
Mhm.
you know, how long it takes you to get somewhere is really made up of all the failures, and you learn from yourself and learn from your own mistakes. And when you can skip over that and you find a mentor and they're saying, hey, you don't have to you don't have to make these mistakes. I'm gonna give you the direct path to it. Like, you can knock your goals out, in 8 years or 5 years. I'm sure now that you consult people, in different companies, they're able to even buy more time and scale their businesses in 3 years versus 8.
Exactly, man. Like, yeah, time is our most precious resource. And so, like, if you either have more time than more money, and that's the thing, a lot of these guys starting, they have the time to go knock on doors and do all the marketing. But other people, like, maybe they've already built a business or whatever, and they just like want the shortcut. It's just like, boom, give me the knowledge. Let me save 5 years of my time. And life's just getting faster and faster. It's just like, if you can save somebody time, whether that's learning or what we do with pressure washing cleaning, it's just like it's an amazing feeling to help somebody like that.
Awesome. Well, this has been amazing. It's been great to get some insight from you, learn more about your story. Before we end, where can people find you at social media, connect with you, maybe even get a consulting session from you to grow their business?
Yeah, man. Easiest is homeservicebusinesscoach.com. You can book a free 45-minute call with me. This is not a hardline sales pitch. I like to connect, and I can promise you'll come off the call with some value there. So that'd be the best. Otherwise, Instagram, Facebook, Home Service Business Coach. Just put it in, and I love connecting with other entrepreneurs. Like I said off the top here, we're all in the same fight together, doing the same thing, and we should be able to help each other. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely, man. You dropped a ton of value. I'm going to attach all of your information in the description of this video. Guys, be sure to definitely connect with him, reach out, get a 45-minute session for free. So, I mean, take advantage of that. And, if you find a great value in that, then definitely, go further from there. And so the last thing, one more thing was about your donating to build wealth in Cambodia. Is that through a nonprofit of your own, or do you go through an organization?
We partner with one locally called Hope International. So yeah, they're awesome to deal with, and we basically fund their projects, and they partner with local communities. We're in a village called it's not really a village anymore; it's a growing city, but Persat in Cambodia, and it's a growing area, and we've done now 27 water wells there, and we want to keep that going. Each water well brings clean water to about 40 people, which is amazing. My wife and I went there actually a year and a half ago and got to meet the families of like people that Revive had sponsored. It's just like amazing, man. Like, clients get the clean house. Our team gets to buy into a vision, and then we get to help bring clean water to people who don't have it. So it's just when you can actually like work your butt off here for that and then go to Cambodia and see the results, it's just like indescribable of like, man, a business can really exist for a greater good. So super cool, and makes me not want to ever sell this business or do anything else, because it's like literally doing what I want to do.
That's amazing, dude. Like, that's amazing. Business with purpose. Well, guys, once again, don't forget to check him out, connect. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And we will see you next time for another video. Peace out.